Good afternoon, everybody. This is Martin John, and I am here to talk to you about the Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching is an ancient text written about 600 BCE, and it's filled with 81 short chapters that provide insight and wisdom on how to live a more reasonable life. It is the core of my spiritual growth, my recovery. It is the core of everything that I do, my relationships, and not that it needs to be yours, but it will always point you to truth. The Tao, Brahman, these are truths. We are connected, we hear it all the time. We're connected to everything, but we don't really believe it. And what the reason I say we don't believe it is because we feel separate. It looks like we're separate. Our bodies look separate from the walls, the trees, the birds, the people. We feel separate, but only because it's proven that we're separate by looking through our eyes. If we stop using our eyes and start looking inward to the truth, we'll see that we are all connected. What I do on Tao of the Day is present the Tao Te Ching, and I ask you to step up and pick a number between 1 and 81. As I mentioned earlier, there are 81 short verses to the Tao Te Ching, all pointing to the same place from a different place. Right? We look at um, being honest and being truthful and being clear and being communicative and being yielding. We look at all of these things from different perspectives so that no matter where you are, you can find a way to see this moment from a different perspective, from the perspective of Tao. So if you have a number between 1 and 81 you'd like to select, please come on up, and I would love to chat with you about the Tao. The way this goes is you pick a number, I'll read the verse, then I'll get some feedback from you on the verse, maybe how it's aligned with what you're going through right now in your life, what it means to you, how it reads, and then we'll go through it line by line and see if we can find any more deep insights, because each line of the Tao is poignant and pointing to something more significant than what we may think. So, just for whatever reason, I'm going to go ahead and pick 81 for today. It's the last verse of the Tao, of the Tao Te Ching. And I am going to read through this and then I'll just talk about it. And if anybody wants to step up and pick a number between 1 and 81, please just do it at any time. I'll bring you up. I can always come back to 81. And I'll talk to you about your Tao for the day. So, number 81 is entitled Blossoming Leader. And hopefully, this being the last verse, having read this whole thing, if you did, this is, you know, the last one. This is, as you leave the Tao, as you put the Tao down, this is the last one you're going to read. The first verse of the Tao talks about this idea that words cannot express the Tao. By that being the first verse of the Tao, it is telling you, hey, look, what's in here is not the Tao, but I'm trying to use words to express it anyway. Now, I'm going to look and I'm going to read right now at number 81, the last verse of the Tao Te Ching. And it's entitled Blossoming Leader. And having read the whole Tao, this is about to leave you in a way that reminds you, I hope, this is what I'm thinking it's going to say, that you are blossoming into a leader, not a leader of men or a leader of anything in particular, a leader of your own life. So what it says here is true words may not sound comforting, yet comfort those they are meant for. However, comforting words are never true. Connected to source, there is no desire to prove. Desire to prove only exposes separation from source. The master's possessions are not part of the manifestation. Giving away her possessions, she only receives more. Tao blesses everyone in this way. When this blessing can be received, domination and power will yield, while all people will blossom as leaders. It's so important when we read the Tao to recognize the depth of what is being said. It's very often we want to read something and then say, well, what about? But we don't take the next step of applying what we just read to the next step, or recognizing that the step of letting go, like true words may not sound comforting as this starts, yet comfort those they are meant for. You may say something to somebody that a third party would say, that doesn't make any sense, and you're being rude and you're being cruel to this person. And then that person can go and coddle the person you're speaking to. So the point being that the person that you were speaking to can be comforted by the words that you spoke and may have been. But when the third person comes up and starts to comfort and coddle that person, they are giving that person that you were speaking to the they're giving them the out of being responsible for themselves. They're giving them reason to be hurt by what you said, to be aggrieved by what you said. This is very similar to a child falling down and not crying until you go and coddle them. They don't know that they hurt themselves because they don't feel it until you focus only on that. And this is how we are trained to live. We're trained to live by looking at what is painful and being the victim of that pain because it feels so good to be coddled. But if you say something, and when I go in and talk to intensive outpatient programs for addicts and others, people from prison, when I talk to them and I say, look, I don't care about your addiction. I don't care about your sobriety. I don't care about your freedom. You need to care about that. I care about you. And if you wind up in prison or if you wind up dead of an overdose, that's okay with me. I mean, in theory. I'm sorry that you are in pain, but you're choosing it to some degree. Now, of course, there are people who have been in jail for not doing things that they've done, but that still is an energetic signature. So, true words, when you speak honestly, they may not sound comforting, yet they are going to comfort those they're meant for. So, when you speak to your loved one and you tell them something honestly, it may hurt, but at least they can be comforted knowing that you're being honest. The next line is, however, comforting words are never true. If you say something that is deliberately comforting, it's not true. I've done that. I'm ashamed that I do that. I'm a nice guy sometimes. And it is horrible to be someone who speaks comforting words. I would much prefer to speak honest words and allow those words, no matter what they are, to be comforting, rather than designing comforting words for people while not at first, embracing honesty. So true words may not sound comforting, and they might not even feel good to say, because we get so caught up in being nice or in being seen as a certain way. We want to be seen, and I've been saying this recently. It was in my journal today, like this line I said that was, you can't want, like, you're wanting something is the thing that's getting in the way of your being everything. Your wanting something is getting in the way of your being everything. True words may not sound comforting, yet comfort those they are meant for. However, comforting words, you want to be comforted. You want to be seen as comforting. You better speak truth rather than speak something that you think will be comforting. However, comforting words are never true. Start with true words, and they will be comforting no matter what. Connected to source, there is no desire to prove. Desire to prove only exposes separation from source. You have nothing to prove, surprise, surprise, and you're out here wanting everything, right? You're wanting to prove that you have enough money. You're wanting to prove that you know something. You're wanting to prove that you're smart. You're wanting to prove that you're sexy. And I'm saying all this because I do it too. And I know, but when we're here to prove, even prove that we're a comforting, nice person, giving comforting, nice words, that we're not wrong. Connected to source, when you're connected to source, words come from you. They don't, like they come to you and they just arise. You're not thinking of them. The moment you start thinking of the words that you want to say, and that's what we do. We get into conversations with ourselves when we're going to have a conversation with someone else, and we pretend we're having that conversation with that other person so we can play it out. And then we get there and we can't be honest. We've already expressed ourselves in this way, and we've had that conversation a half dozen times by the time we actually have the conversation. The next line is interesting as it starts to seem as if there's something physical here. The master's possessions are not part of the manifestation. Giving away her possessions, she only receives more. Her possessions are what true words. Her possessions are what herself. Her possessions are what she is, not what she has. The master's possessions are not part of the manifestation. The manifestation being houses, cars, money, all of this stuff. Her possessions are not part of that. And so she gives away her possessions and she only receives more. Tao blesses everyone in this way. When this blessing can be received, domination and power will yield. You will have no need to prove anything. That's what domination and power is. I'm proving myself. Domination and power will yield. It'll step back. While all people will blossom as leaders. There will be no need to be better than anyone else. There will be no need to have any of them. Right? You don't have to win. You don't have to be. Oh, Julie wrote me a message. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're enjoying it. But yeah. So Tao blesses everyone in this way. In what way? By making sure that your possessions aren't part of the manifestation. Your possessions are your ability to speak true words, your ability to comfort through truth, not create through your mind, through your intellect. Tao blesses everyone in this way. When this blessing can be received. Now, how can you receive this message? How can you receive this blessing, this gift from Tao? Well, it's really awareness and getting out of your head, getting out of thinking that you're doing this and allowing yourself to be you, allowing yourself to be as you are. When this blessing can be received, domination and power will yield. We look around us today, and everybody wants you to dominate. Everybody wants you to be powerful. Everybody wants that from you. Why do they want that from you? Because as long as everyone's trying to dominate and be powerful, then someone can win. But when you step away, when you step back and allow yourself to yield that power, to yield to that domination, that desire. Now, I've been saying recently, like I think I mentioned it earlier, this idea of like um, when you desire or want anything, it takes away from your being everything, because you are everything. You're connected to everything, but your eyes, your mind, your body, all want to look at this pittance of manifestation and say, "Oh, look, you can have money." And now you're abundant because you have millions of dollars. And it's like, really? Then then why does everyone with millions of dollars want more dollars? They don't feel abundant. They don't feel like they've arrived. They don't feel like they're complete. They may feel increasingly empty and attached even more to manifestation, to separateness, not seeing the whole, WHOLE. It's funny. I was listening to Russell Brand. Russell Brand. Uh, you know, British goofball. Um, and and he speaks, about meditation and all these wonderful things. Sheila, I'm in Chicago. Um, and he speaks about great stuff. And but the thing is his anger and his shtick. I mean, I don't know if it's real or not. I mean, everyone in entertainment is whatever, right? Like is it's hard to think that people are being honest, right? Um, I feel like his shtick often gets him sidetracked. Like he looks out at the manifestation, says this is wrong, and he tries to fix it. And the thing is like it's not wrong. Of course, people lie. Of course, people are looking for profits, and he is complete. He is complacent to that and profiting from that and saying, I want truth. But his truth is so marred in emotion, and he thinks that it matters that people lie. He thinks that it matters that people are being made poor. He thinks that it matters that these things are happening. And it doesn't. Not that it's not wrong, or that it, like quote unquote, not that it's not, bad, quote unquote, right? But just words. And nobody is comforted by them. And that's the thing. If they're not comforting, and I don't say that they need to be comforting for everybody. Just like what this is saying is true words may sound comforting, and they may sound comforting. His words may sound comforting to someone, yet comfort those they are meant for. So good. They're comforting those they are meant for. I don't want to change Russell Brand. I don't want to teach Russell Brand. I don't care. Russell Brand is fine doing what he does. And I wish him all the best in doing it. And I don't, but I, I think he's missed the point of his own life. Now his life is wrapped up in the lives of others. I always think, like, what's important to you? What is the most important thing to you? And I saw this thing the other day that was just like, I'm going to give you $10 million today, but you cannot wake up tomorrow. Which would you prefer? You get $10 million and not wake up tomorrow, or stay as you are and wake up tomorrow. That means the simple act, if you chose waking up tomorrow, the simple act of waking up tomorrow is more valuable than your $15 million or $10 million or whatever it is. And we don't see that because we're looking at the future and we're sitting here judging this moment rather than being here and saying, this is right, this is wrong, this is good, this is bad, this is that. And none of that matters. That's why this is stating the master's possessions are not part of the manifestation. Giving away her possessions, she only receives more. Tao blesses everyone in this way. When this blessing can be received, that's the crux here. When this message can be received, because it cannot always be received, domination and power will yield. It'll get out of the way. Domination and power will yield. You won't need to dominate. You won't need to overpower anybody. While all people will blossom as leaders, you'll all be leaders and no one will care. And that's the greatest thing about all of this, is that you can be a leader and you don't have to have a follower. You can just be you as a leader. You can lead yourself. And that's what this is about, leading yourself, allowing yourself to lead. All right, if anybody wants to step up, Sheila, I know you wrote me a message about where I am located. I am in Chicago, or actually, no, I'm outside of Chicago. I'm in Hammond, Indiana, Northwest Indiana, right on the border of Illinois, about 8 miles from Chicago. Born and raised in Chicago, recently moved here. But yeah, so that's where I'm at. If you want to step up and pick a number between 1 and 81, I would love to have you. Anybody else want to pick a number between 1 and 81? And we can talk a little bit about the Dow. Oh, Johnny, it's been a while since we've chatted. Hope you are well.
Hey, Marlon John. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Hey,
Yourself?
good. I'm glad. I am doing well. It's been an interesting week of shifts and changes and transitions. So we'll see how all of that starts to make itself seen in my life. When things change, the ramifications of those things take a while sometimes to take effect, and there's a point of mourning the loss of things, and then
Absolutely.
there's excitement and possibility and all sorts of things. So we'll see what's up, but I'm doing very well.
Good. Yeah, I'm kind of abreast of some of what's been going on because I even though I haven't been catching you, I've been listening. I've been listening to some of the DAOs of the day,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
it's been really interesting. And I think um, one of the changes you're referring to is I think your relationship with Andy, and
Yes, yes.
and so yeah so but so so yeah just I and I'm just sending my blessings, really. I'm not really
Yeah, and I think, yeah, like, it's hard, I think, for both of us, because like, it's tough when and I recognize, like, even though I was being honest with my words, there is a part of me that knew it wasn't getting across, and I just allowed her to be in that space of, like, unknowing, because I benefited from it, and
yeah
that's not, and it's good for me to see that. And this 81 today is really good because it is talking about, like true words,
yeah no,
and it hasn't been like that isn't always like being really honest, because I do want to be comforting, and so sometimes I choose comforting words rather than honest ones.
absolutely, we all do, and that's I'm certainly been guilty of that in the past, and that's definitely got me in difficulty in relationships because I've not been honest with myself, and so my
Right,
words haven't been honest. But I've, but I've been in a comfortable place,
right.
and um, there's been a trade off, and I've taken comfort over honesty, which catches up on you. So
It does, and I knew it would. I don't, and I'm grateful for Dow for allowing it to come through me before she left. Like, I was really just having a, like, I was thinking the last day she was here, I was like, okay, well, we're just gonna cuddle. It's gonna be beautiful, and I was feeling really good. And then all of a sudden, like, I don't know how it started, but the conversation just unfolded, and it was really difficult. And but it was had, and now we're readjusting and seeing what comes up, and it's still, still stings. I'm sure she's angry, and which she has all the right in the world to be. And I love her, and I send her my best, and really hope that there's a point where we can reconnect, and just, be able to, uh, because I have so much respect for her, and I have so much respect for her work, and we have both grown so much, just being in touch. So
Well, I hope so too. That's yeah, yeah. I hope that for you too.
yeah,
Um, interesting you mentioned eight. I joined a little bit later, so I didn't know it was 81 that you were reading. So that's kind of quite pertinent to me because I wanted to pick number 18 actually.
oh really,
I,
beautiful.
um, and the other thing, just briefly before sort of we start, I know you've been talking about your morning routine in a couple of your talks,
Yeah.
and that's been really interesting. And actually, I've really benefited from that because
Oh,
my morning routine can be quite lengthy. It can be 2 3 hours, and I
yeah.
was feeling quite guilty. And I think you've got a similar length to your morning routine, so that I found that quite
Yeah,
reassuring.
yeah, I'm up at 4, and I'm not done with my morning routine, or I'm just wrapping up my morning routine at 7. So 3 hours it's a solid 3 hour sort of morning.
And yeah, and it's interesting because you were saying how beneficial it is for the rest of the day, and
Yeah.
that's actually very that I find that as well. If I do my meditation and I do all of my I because I've been recently getting up very early, not quite as early as you, but about 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
and um, after I've done my meditation and a few other things, if I don't have a structure or something to go into, I can meditate. I can start to feel sleepy, and sort of I go back to bed again. But so it's actually quite nice to have a structure in the morning to stop me go going back to bed and actually getting in, starting the day.
Yeah. And 5 a.m. is fucking early. You know what I mean? Like I wake up at 4, but and I want everybody, like, that's listening or that hears this, to understand that that is a natural thing that occurred. Like, I started waking up at 6, and then I was like, oh, you know what? I'm naturally waking up a little before. Let me push it to 5. I started waking up at 5, and then at some point I started waking up at 4:30, and then at some point I started waking up at 4. And it's not necessarily like I do have an alarm, um, but there is something about that time of day, and there is something about my body that really, and I think everybody really is a morning person, but I think most people, their routine consists of making coffee, and then I don't drink caffeinated coffee. Every now and again I'll have a decaf, but that's the thing. That's like you're up, and why are we drinking coffee? Why are we doing, like, when, like, exercise or journaling and meditating and all those things are those things, like, fill us, you know. So
But it can be so beautiful to meditate when sort of the suns get coming up. And I
yeah,
be in the last year, I remember I was sitting on like a little balcony area, and I was meditating, and sort of the sun came up, and you just get that. It's just a really quiet, beautiful sort of like beautiful time of the morning, and there's so much peace at that time in the morning.
yeah. And I always look at it this way: if you're in a dark room and you open your curtains and the sun is blazing, it's painful,
Yeah.
you know. But when you get up in the morning and open your curtains and it's still dark out, and slowly the day starts and you get accustomed to that with the day. It's not like it's jarring you into awakeness or something. It's like you and the day slowly arise together.
Yeah, it's much more in sync with your natural circadian rhythm,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's much
So
more in
let's
sync.
let's look at 18 and see if
Yes.
this has anything to offer us in terms of all of this. So 18 is entitled Out of Touch with Tao.
Okay.
When out of touch with Tao, etiquette is observed. When etiquette cannot be abided, we find excuses to make it proper. When excuses gut the family, chaos favors the hierarchy. When all the neighbors are in chaos, blind loyalty is demanded. So fairly short.
Okay.
Um, what are
My,
some of
my
your thoughts? Yeah.
uh, it's a lot. It seemed a little bit like social conditioning, in that we're worried about what other people think, and worried. Um, there was a reference there to, I think, the family. I just got the
Mhm.
feeling that it was, we were being influenced by the external,
Right.
and that we were living up, say, our decisions were being, not coming from within, but being influenced from outside.
That's beautiful. And that's really, this is like a dissolution of being in touch with Tao. Like as this goes, right? Out of touch with Tao, etiquette is observed. Etiquette is the first thing that you build when you lose touch with Tao. Tao being your truth, as we talked about in 81, right? Like I can't be truthful, but I can be comforting,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so because I can't be truthful, comforting is the etiquette to this
Yes.
situation.
Yeah. Because
And
truth can be harsh.
right.
Yeah.
And even though it's harsh, those true words will comfort those they're meant for. But we don't,
Yes.
in some way, maybe not in this moment, right? Like when Andy left, like we both were crying, but I know she will eventually stop crying just as I will.
Mm.
But I don't have to continue leaning on etiquette. I don't have to continue feeling obliged to not be myself. So when etiquette cannot be abided, we find excuses to make it proper. We want to say, well, I was mean because of da 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 da, because you did this, and I felt bad, and I did this, and I find excuses that make it okay for me not to adhere to etiquette, because etiquette is what I've been standing on for so long. I've been being nice, and now all of a sudden I'm not nice. Why am I not nice? Well, because you did something.
Yeah.
Right? Now I'm the victim, and we find excuses to make it okay that I could not abide etiquette. Now this is the one with the family, and I would love to hear what you have to say. When excuses gut the family, when those excuses gut the relationships you have, chaos favors the hierarchy.
So that did jump out at me, but we might have to break that down a little bit. Because my feeling was that I don't know if I understood. I don't understand you say chaos. Sorry, are you able to can you
Yeah.
repeat that line, please?
When excuses gut the family, chaos favors the hierarchy. So, what we're looking at is, imagine if everybody has excuses for what they're doing, so there is no etiquette, and no one trusts themselves because they're out of touch with Tao. This is the dissolution. So we've dissolved being in touch with Tao. Tao's there, but we're not in touch with it because we're too busy, adhering to etiquette. Well, when etiquette is dissolved and we can no longer, adhere to etiquette, and so we are coming up with excuses, and excuses could be like, well, I murdered him because of this, and I slapped you because of this. This creates chaos.
Okay. Okay.
And
I
chaos favors the hierarchy. The hierarchy comes from somewhere else. Hierarchy says that, oh, the man is more important than the woman.
mm,
Parents are more important than the children. The alderman is, like the mayor is less important than the president.
sure.
So the more chaotic things are, the more we look up the hierarchy.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The more, the more, the more we don't trust ourselves, and
Yes,
we're not aligned with Tao. That's when we, as you say, we look to the hierarchy. We we may look to our families, or we may look to society. And as you say, we go up the tree. But
that's right.
um, but so you use you use the word gut. I wasn't, so when excuses gut the family, is that the line?
Yes, when excuses gut the family, meaning, you know, um, when they take out the insides, like when you gut a fish,
Yes.
you
Okay.
take the
All right.
guts out. So
Yeah.
the insides have been removed, and all you got left is the husk.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes more sense. I thank you. Yeah.
And then the final line: when all the neighbors are in chaos, blind loyalty is demanded. This refers back to favoring the hierarchy. When you're favoring the hierarchy, and your neighbors are favoring the hierarchy, and the whole town is favoring the hierarchy, well, then everybody has to give blind faith to the mayor of your town, or whoever, whoever is in charge. I'm going to bring you back up. So I have a weird thing with my timer, but come on back up, and we can finish this off, right? When all neighbors are in chaos, when all the neighbors are in chaos, blind loyalty is demanded. Demanded by who? Demanded by those that are at the top of the hierarchy. And that blind loyalty, that we have to have when everybody's in chaos, is just saying, well, you're right, and I'll just believe you. This is how dictators get in place and stuff like that, because dictators are in place because we need a rule. And you know I'm in the United States, and Joe Biden and the Democrats and the Republicans are always fighting each other. They're the hierarchy. Depending on who you are, the hierarchy is this party or that party, and it's all ridiculous. And nobody trusts themselves, and they want everybody else. And I was talking about Russell Brand a little bit. He too is kind of caught in the trap of the hierarchy.
Yeah, but Russell Brand is a very controversial character in sort of the UK, and as you were alluding to, he's so caught up in the external. He's
Hmm.
missing. He's missing. He seems to be missing his own.
Well, maybe he may just
Maybe
be an
that's
entertainer, right? He
that's
may
also
not
true.
care
Yeah,
about any of this, and just
yeah,
using
that's
it
true.
for, we don't know. We don't know. Like, he might not care about any of it, but he's doing it for ratings. He might be doing. He might. When I hear him say, "I want to know what you think," I don't believe that.
No,
You
yeah,
know.
he's yeah, he's incredibly good at publicity and being celebrity. So yeah.
Yeah. So, like, it all just might be. Like, I wouldn't put money on him being honest. You know what I mean? Like,
No.
he's just another sod, like, that's out there being celebrity,
Yeah.
like. So, I mean, I don't know how much he really cares about what he does, like, he plays the role of caring, but he does that in front of people with a lot of benefit on the other side. So,
Yeah.
and his ego is pretty fucking big.
It's
So
huge, absolutely.
he may, like, I look at him as being currently in active addiction, engaging his ego. as his new heroine or as his new, and because he's sober, he has proof that he's not an addict, right? Right.
That's a
Like, and
really
this is,
interesting take
yeah,
on it. Yeah. Well.
yeah. No, I mean, like he went down a path that was taking him away from having his ego benefited, and at some point over the last couple of years, and I think it was COVID, that he made just a real sharp turn towards embracing embracing controversial, like, bullshit, like, and
Yeah.
he is now caught up in the manifestation.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Um, what? Um, just thinking about 18. The one thing, and also I guess a little bit about what we were speaking about at the beginning was, I think I was thinking that the most important relationship we have, as people say, is the relationship we have with ourselves.
Right.
And it's and it's and and putting that relationship and that honesty and that trust and that connection above and beyond your family or your friends, not
Mm-hmm.
not to their detriment, but to your benefit, so that you can be a better family member, so you can be a better friend, you can be a better partner.
That's
And
right.
you and but it's so I've obviously taken the advice of some people I shouldn't have done, and things have gone down a bit of a bizarre route. So I've got to take responsibility for that. That I went searching externally for advice because I didn't trust myself.
Well, let's taking a step back. I mean, did have you and I, or have you heard me talk at all about the pre-karmic buffet?
No.
No.
Oh
Okay.
no.
Pre-karmic buffet is an interesting sort of line of, you know thinking, and so I look at it as, there is Tao, so there is something other than us, and we exist before we're born as consciousness, all this stuff. So you, before you take your form in your body, you and God, I'm just going to use the word God,
Hmm.
go to this wonderful pre-karmic buffet. And one of
Okay.
the problems with a buffet is they're all you can eat, right?
Okay.
Like, they don't, it's not limited.
Yeah.
So you can go through the buffet once, and God is with you, and he's like, okay, you can choose any one of these things. And during certain times there are different, you know um main courses and side courses and other things like that, and they all have labels, but you have no frame of reference, you don't know what they are. And as you go through the buffet, you just look at everything, it all looks so delicious, and you're just like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. This is going to be great. This is going to make my
Yeah.
life. And you start taking huge heaping spoonfuls of some of these things, and you start piling up plates. The thing is that those labels, they say things like racism
Yeah.
and, you know loss of limbs, or
Yeah.
rape, um who knows, like all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff, like medical malpractice, and
Yeah.
depending on how you've organized your plate, medical malpractice may make you a doctor so that you get sued for medical malpractice, or
Yeah.
you may organize your plate in a way that says medical malpractice and, like, advice from friends are next to each other.
Yeah. Sure.
You don't have the ability to change your dish, so you have to eat it.
Mm.
But at some point, you thought this was going to be delicious. Now it's your job to see how delicious it actually is.
Yeah.
And so, sure, you could say, I took the advice of others. Yes, that was what happened. But it's you doing it.
Absolutely, and I think that was the point I was
Yeah.
trying to make.
Yeah, no, I
That
and I
I
and I do and I do recognize that.
yeah.
I just thought it'd be a good time to drop pre-karmic buffet. It's good.
Yeah, no, no, it's good. It is a good time. I haven't heard you talk about that before, so thank you. And
Yeah.
it lines up with some of the stuff that I've been reading about. I was reading a little bit about I think it's Dolores Cannon.
Yep,
Uh,
yep, yep.
um,
She's like she's as kooky as they come. Love it. I
yeah,
think it's you know like she does
and
no she's a great she's a great resource. I think she definitely speaks well, and there's so many people
yeah,
that have so much to share.
yeah, and I think there's one of her books called Between Death and Life, and she talks about before we come into this form,
Hmm.
we choose the lessons we want to learn. We choose, we choose certain things, and
Yeah,
so in some way that that lines up with your
and how
pre.
those things come about isn't for us to dictate,
Yeah.
right? Like they're going to come about, and because you could say no, I don't want that lesson. I don't want to learn it this way. I don't want to learn it that way. The lesson keeps coming until you're ready to learn it.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
it keeps
yeah.
and the more you're alive, the more drastic the universe has to be in presenting you with that. It might be like, oh, you got hit by a car, you don't want to learn it. All right, how about you get hit by a truck? Or how about you fall out a window? Or like whatever it is that the universe needs to do to get
ab-
you to
ab-
learn.
Absolutely, and I think that's a little bit of the frustrating thing is in that I see what's brought brought me to this point was a few repeating lessons that I just had not learned,
Yeah.
and it's now got to the point where you know the universe or Tao has just put a big old stop sign in front of me and said, no, this time you're not you can't it's no you you're going to have to learn this lesson if actually you want to carry on sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't want it to get worse than this.
No, 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 definitely not.
It's
No.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah. I'm listening now.
this
I'm
is why we
listening. Yeah,
talk about surrender,
yeah.
you know.
Surrender and trust. Yeah,
And we look at this we look at this 18 from the backwards, right? There's blind loyalty. That was your taking the advice,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
right?
but it's yeah, but it was blind loyalty to the external parties
Right.
as
Yeah, yeah.
opposed
Blind
to the
loyalty, right.
blind. Whereas the surrender and trust is more blind loyalty to your um to oneself. What is maybe blind loyalty is not the right word, but blind
Yeah,
loyalty.
I would say, like it's not loyal to anything.
Yeah.
It's loyal in being itself,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
and it's not, and I'd really shy away from saying it was blind, because in being, you know deep inside, there is knowing to that. There is calm in that. So it would be like, there is loyalty, but there's loyalty to the surrender of like, I don't need to know, versus I know, because that's blind loyalty, is trusting that because you were told from something externally.
Yeah.
I think those are different. And when
Yeah.
we look at that, when we look at this, when we reverse this, right? Blind loyalty turns to chaos favors the hierarchy. The hierarchy being the doctors and everything else,
Yeah.
but it's chaotic. And then we reverse that. As we grow from that, what we do is we find excuses because we can't uphold etiquette at this point, because we have been destroyed to such a degree.
Yeah.
And then when we calm down from those excuses, we can once again find etiquette, and we can be like, okay, okay, this is good, we are here, we and that's the, I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but that's the point where you're like, where you're trying to accept and then surrender, and then we get back in touch with Tao, and that's when we surrender, right? It's the backwards of this. So like the dissolution of this can like like that same standard of dissolution has the opposite effect when we when we resolve it, when we come back to it.
Yeah, that's a really nice way to look at it. To actually go through the verse in reverse order
Right.
to actually see how you can return
Yeah.
to Tao,
Yeah.
even when even when you've gone down most of that path.
Right. And
As
you
you
will
can see,
you
yeah,
will arrive at excuses from a different place. So they won't be the same excuses, and they will be structured differently. And the
yeah,
etiquette will be different because it'll be coming from a different perspective. But that etiquette, that being like, okay, I will meditate, I will have a morning routine, that could be considered etiquette.
true,
And that etiquette will get you back in touch with Tao.
yeah. But it's also, but that etiquette is an etiquette that you've devised for yourself, as
Right.
opposed as actually opposed to one that's been imposed on you.
Every step of the way, you will be giving yourself more. You will be having to trust yourself more.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Because
build
one
your
is a
own etiquette.
dissolution and one is a resolution.
Yes, yeah, yes, yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Oh well, thank you very much, Martin John. It's been great
Absolutely.
talking to you and catching up.
Always is. Always is. Thank you.
And yeah, and I wish you a lovely weekend.
You as well. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye bye. Okay. If anybody wants to step up, let's pick a number. We'll go through your Tao for the day. That was beautiful. And we'll see. Maybe I can even use that on the app. I don't know. Like that was a really nice way of looking at number 18, out of touch with Tao. And that's the thing. When you lose touch with Tao, you start looking outside of yourself increasingly. And when you start to look inwardly, that's when you can find you, right? That's when you can find, then you find yourself back in touch with Tao. Not that you never, like Tao never leaves you, but you can turn from Tao, right? You can lose touch with it. Not that it's lost touch with you, because it's always there. You are Tao, not separate, as we talked about in number 81. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to thank Johnny for joining me as well. And it's always a pleasure to chat with you. And yeah, if you guys benefit from the work that I do here on Tao of the Day and on Wisdom, consider tipping me over at Venmo at @MartinJohn_Garcia. Or you can just go to my link tree and send me a tip through there. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next time, keep recovering yourself.